So, what about this home field disadvantage for Ohio State as they get ready for their first ever home playoff game against Tennessee? And oh, by the way, Ryan Day isn't going anywhere or coaching for his job this weekend. Locked on Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Shemon, 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer, and I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And you can get started on the rest of the NFL season going into the playoffs here with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's all on FanDuel.com. So get started now. So this Buckeyes home field disadvantage that Kirk Herbstreit talked about last week, I've been thinking about that. Plus, the Heisman race is done. Congratulations. Dillon Gabriel got third place. Look, that was a great season. He didn't quite get the award, but we'll have that in our top 10 Big Ten moments over the weekend. But one of the coolest features of the newly expanded 12-team college football playoffs is that for the first time ever, some well-deserving teams will have home playoff games on campus. It'll be great. And certainly home field advantage on a cold December day or night. That could be a huge advantage for the home team. Could make the difference between a win and a loss. Except Ohio State, right? Wait, what? Ohio State has one of the greatest, most intimidating home field advantages at Ohio Stadium, the horseshoe, as they call it, in all of college sports. And as the Buckeyes get ready to host the Tennessee Volunteers on Saturday night, certainly 103,000 Garnet-wearing fans on a frigid Saturday night will be an advantage for the Buckeyes. Well, first of all, it might not be 103,000 because I heard there was a story last week that some Tennessee fans got a hold of the secret online buying code for tickets. There might be a sprinkle of some Rocky Top orange in the crowd on Saturday night. But what I'm really getting at here was former Ohio State player and ESPN analyst Kirk Herbstreit, who I like very much. He made some comments over a week ago on the ESPN selection show for the college football playoffs. And he said it might have been better if the Buckeyes opened the playoffs on the road. I thought about that comment a little bit last week, and I kind of even molded over more this past weekend. So let's talk about it today for just a second as we get ready for playoff week. It is finally here. It is upon us. So he was referring to the Buckeyes fans, and they're I don't want to say they're fickle. They're not. They're diehard. But they are a little, they're worn out. Their patience is thin right now, following their fourth straight loss to the team up north. And of course, that last one was 2 weeks ago at home, no less, in front of them. And the loss was devastating because, not only was Michigan, but it knocked the Buckeyes out of the Big Ten championship game. But still, with plenty to play for, they got their sights on a national championship and getting through these college football playoffs. So Herbstreit suggested that if the Buckeyes started out slow against the Volunteers with maybe a couple of 3-and-outs, some early punts, some miscues, that this fan base in their frame of mind that they're in right now, they may quickly turn on this team. And they might start, and Ryan Day specifically, and the Boo Birds may come out big time. Now, Ryan Day was asked about these comments naturally a couple of days afterward. This was last week. And to his credit, I actually liked his answer. He said, "Look, we get booed all the time at home. Anytime we go 3-and-out, anytime we roll the punter out. The punter's the most unpopular Buckeye of all time. Anytime they got an offense stutters and they have to punt, they get booed at home. It's just part of the deal." So I like his mindset with that. I like how he thought about that. And I'm sure that's how the team looks at it as well. They shouldn't be affected by any negative swing from the crowd at home. But let's just put Herbstreit's comments to bed for a minute, because they were interesting fodder at best, worthy of a conversation at most. And if anybody thinks that the Buckeyes would be better off playing in that sea of orange at Neyland Stadium, that frenzied playoff crowd over there, instead of at the Horseshoe, I would tell them that they're out of their minds. The Buckeyes earned this home game for a reason. And I think they're going to take advantage of it. Don't want to tell you my pigskin picks early. That's for Friday. We're just getting started on this week. There's a lot that could change between now and then. Speaking of which, there was also a lot of speculation that has been quieted as of late. Maybe if Ryan Day, he had lost the Michigan game, and maybe if they came out and played poorly and lost the Tennessee game, everybody was talking about, hey, we lost to Michigan, but we're going to make a deep run into the playoffs, right? Everybody's been saying that. And that could make the Michigan loss go away a little bit if they can make a deep run into the playoffs and maybe even win a national championship. So there's been a lot of speculation about Ryan Day's job status if, for example, if he were to come up short early in the playoffs and not make a deep run into the playoffs. It's very well documented on this podcast, as a matter of fact. We talk about it a lot. If he followed the 4 straight loss to Michigan, the early playoff exit at the hands of Tennessee in the first round of the playoffs, would Day's job status be in jeopardy? After all, the 2024 season would have no Big Ten title, no playoff wins to show for the $20 million nil roster. A lot of people might not be happy about that, but unhappy enough to make some changes. Remember, new Buckeyes athletic director Ross Bjork, he gave a full vote of confidence on behalf of the administration and said that Ryan Day would absolutely be back coaching in 2025, leaving us to think no matter what. So we have to take him at his word. That's a pretty good endorsement from a guy that used to be the athletic director at Texas A&M, where he wrote Jimbo Fisher a $77 million check to not coach anymore. He fired him. Ryan Day's buyout is only $37 million, just in case you're wondering. But no matter what's at stake here, we think this Tennessee-Ohio State game is going to be a great playoff game, as will SMU Penn State, as will Indiana and Notre Dame. We're going to be previewing all of these games right here on Locked On Big Ten throughout the week here as we ramp up to all the exciting football this weekend. Remember, Notre Dame and Indiana in South Bend, that's this Friday. That's the Friday night game. And then SMU Penn State is early Saturday. It's at noon. And then afterward, Ohio State has the night game against Tennessee. So we're very excited about that. And we think both of these teams got enough athletes on both sides of the ball to put on a pretty good show for that Saturday night game at Ohio State. Would love to hear Buckeye fans' comments on this. The comments on YouTube that you get back and forth, your comments on Ryan Day, your comments on if you lose to Tennessee, what's your mindset going to be? That's 2 losses in a row. I know you typical Ohio State fan doesn't allow that scenario to be in their head. That's why I bring it up. Look, I know you all think you're going to win this game, and you very well may be. In fact, that's how I'm leaning right now. But your comments are always good. Hit us up on YouTube with all of that. We always appreciate those as well. But I was leading up to the point that with these playoff games coming up, as you know, we like to go live on the weekends following big games. We will go live Friday night. We'll have a regular Friday morning podcast that will come out usually about 6 a.m. Eastern time on audio and video. But then live here on YouTube on Friday night after the Indiana Notre Dame game, we'll go live. It'll be about 11:30 at night, Friday night. We'll do it all again Saturday night following the 2 Big Ten teams, the Penn State and the Ohio State game. So I'll keep you abreast of what we're doing, all that. But be ready for a lot of live broadcasts coming up here this weekend. And we'll recap everything with immediate reaction and, of course, our first look forward to what's coming up next. If you're new, be sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Just click it, and that's it. It doesn't require any information. It's always free, and that helps you and me stay on the same page every single day because we're out here every day with Locked On Big Ten. You can follow Locked On Big Ten for free wherever you get your podcast. Just hit the subscribe button, and you always get this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. Also, if you're on video, you see the crawl on the bottom, talkbig10.com. That is our website where all of our podcasts go, but we also have links. If you want to buy some last-second Christmas shopping, you want to get some merchandise, some Oregon Duck hats, Ohio State T-shirts, maybe a sweater that has got the Michigan logo on it, Indiana, Penn State, all that stuff right there. We got links for you on our website. Get your Christmas shopping done with your favorite school's merchandise or get that hard to buy someone in your family who's a Big Ten alum a little special gift right there at Talk Big 10, the number 10, talkbig10.com. All right, I got some final thoughts on the Heisman race. Dillon Gabriel came in third. That's pretty good. He didn't get the award. I didn't think he would, but certainly worthy of a mention as we come off this weekend. Plus, we need a scorecard to keep track of which Michigan players are coming and going on the portal and who's opting out for the bowl game against Alabama. We've got all of that, plus portal and recruiting news all over. That's next right here as we continue with another edition of Locked On Big Ten. FanDuel makes the fun of watching games even more fun. Have a little action on it, some NFL action, for example. FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now, new customers can bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So if you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats and scores right there on the same place where you put your bets in. So just visit FanDuel.com and join today. You'll get started with $150 of bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more at FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Don't forget tonight, not 1, 2 Monday Night Football games. I like the Vikings -7 against the Bears and the Falcons -6. That was -4. It's now -6 against the Raiders at the Raiders. Max Crosby's out. That's the deal there. You can make bets like that at FanDuel.com. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, well, thank you, first of all, for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen every day. You guys, especially everydayers out there. Thank you. You made this thing grow so much in 2024. Meanwhile, be sure to subscribe on YouTube, share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. And don't forget our website, talkbig10.com. All right, let's chop it up a little bit here. By now, over the weekend, you've heard that Colorado two-way player Travis Hunter won the Heisman Trophy, given annually since the 1930s to the nation's most outstanding player. It was a close race. Boise State running back Ashton Jeanty came in second. Congrats to Oregon Ducks quarterback Dillon Gabriel, who finished third, and Miami quarterback Cam Ward, who finished fourth. Now, it marked the 5th time this century, since we rolled into the 2000s, that a quarterback did not win. And the last time a quarterback failed to finish in the top 2 was in 2015, when running backs Derrick Henry of Alabama and Christian McCaffrey from Stanford finished 1-2. Little historical fun fact for you there. By the way, the Buffs got their first bowl bid in 4 years and will face number 17 BYU in the Alamo Bowl on December 28th. And even though he is heading to the NFL draft and may actually be the first player taken, our Heisman winner, Hunter, will be Travis Hunter is going to play. Says, I'm going to play in the bowl game. I admire him for that. I know a lot of guys wouldn't. And it probably is the smart move is to not play. If you're going to be the #1 pick in the draft, you don't want to get hurt. But he plans to play on the game. A couple of fun facts regarding the Heisman that you may or may not have missed. Penn State's Tyler Warren, who we talk about all the time. We try to get him some hype at the end. He didn't make the Final Four to be a finalist to go to New York, but he did finish 7th. Indiana's quarterback, Curtis Rourke, finished 9th. Not bad representation from the Big Ten. Also, former Ohio State Buckeye quarterback Kyle McCord, who's now with Syracuse, came in 10th, actually. Hey, speaking of quarterbacks, former USC quarterback Miller Moss is going to Louisville. Some feel that he is the third-rated quarterback available in the transfer portal. Got 1 year of eligibility left, and he'll play under former Purdue and current Louisville head coach Jeff Brom. Moss threw 18 touchdown passes in 9 games this year for the Trojans. He exploded onto the scene almost a year ago when he stepped in for Caleb Williams, who had opted out of the Holiday Bowl because he was going to be the top pick in the draft. He didn't want to play in a I don't want to say meaningless bowl game, but a bowl game. And Moss stepped in and nobody knew who he was. And then all of a sudden they did, because he threw six touchdown passes. Never really lived up to that billing this year. It was a disappointing year at USC, although he's not a bad quarterback. Don't get me wrong. I think he'll do well under Brom at Louisville. I really do. He's a good quarterback. He just, when you come out throwing 6 touchdowns in a bowl game, people expect you to have 3, 4, 5, 6 touchdowns all the time. And you just can't do it. Michigan running back, Donovan Edwards. He's going to opt out of the Wolverines ReliaQuest Bowl versus Alabama as he gets ready for his NFL career. Last year, he split time at running back with Blake Corum. This year it was Khalil Mullings. Maybe this season did not live up to expectations of preseason hype for him. And he began the season on the cover of EA Sports College Football 2025 along with Travis Hunter and Quinn Ewers. And Donovan Edwards really didn't hit that high mark this year. By the way, he's not the only opt-out for the Wolverines for this game against Alabama. It's in Tampa, by the way, December 31st. Obviously, defensive tackle Mason Graham, he's going pro. Cornerback Will Johnson, tight end Colston Loveland. They're all entering the draft. You won't be seeing them wearing a Michigan uniform ever again. And in case you missed it over the last couple of busy days, quarterback Alex Orji from Michigan, he is hitting the transfer portal. Yeah, that's right. Look, he's a tremendous athlete. He's appeared in 20 games. He started 3 over the past 3 seasons, but his passing game just never materialized. Came in as that change of pace guy, and that's all he really was. Did it with a little bit of success on the ground behind J.J. McCarthy. And this year, when he was asked to be the guy, he really couldn't be the guy. Just wasn't accurate enough downfield. But a great athlete. He'll end up somewhere. And in case also, if you missed it, he wasn't the first one to leave Michigan. Jaden Denegal, we talked about this last week. He left too. Didn't even play in a game this year. And he's hitting the portal as well. Of course, recently Michigan announced the commitment from the number 1 high school recruit of the country, Bryce Underwood, quarterback. And Michigan still might need some veteran leadership of the quarterback room. So there's some stories out there about Maryland transfer Billy Edwards Jr. coming into Ann Arbor. Be a upperclassman leader there while they develop Underwood. Go back and look up Billy Edwards' stats. He was among the leaders of the Big Ten all season passing. He's sneaky good. Might be a nice answer for Michigan for a minute till Underwood's ready to go. The Iowa Hawkeyes are in need of a running back because their outstanding running back, Caleb Johnson, he's going pro. And they just got to commit from the class of 2025, Braden Jackson. He's the son of former NFLer Fred Jackson. He's an in-state product, so they kept him in the state of Iowa. And also, here's the latest transfer portal deal on the news that we want to keep an eye on. We're keeping an eye on Kentucky transfer wide receiver Dan Key. We talked about him last week. He's really big and athletic, got some nice numbers, and he was supposed to have visited Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss this weekend. That was on his short list. There seems to be some mutual interest in Georgia, but the one we're keeping an eye on for him is Nebraska. As we told you last week, his wide receiver coach just left Kentucky for the same position at Lincoln under Matt Rule. And, of course, they got new offensive coordinator Dana Holgerson there and rising sophomore Dylan Raiola at quarterback. That might be a thing. That might be attractive to a big wide receiver like that. So let's see. Ole Miss, Georgia, or Nebraska, former Kentucky player. We'll see. Here on Monday night, quiet night in men's basketball around the Big Ten. So coming up, we'll take a look at the weekend. You know what we like to do with our features on Mondays. We do our top 10 Big Ten observations for the weekend. A lot of basketball here. We're going to flip the switch a little bit from football to basketball. Tomorrow, we'll have our Tuesday tweets. Wednesday, we always do our power rankings. Probably start doing our basketball there as well. Thursdays, we always look ahead to Big Ten programming on the Big Ten Network for Big Ten Classics and live action. And on Fridays, we do our picks. Again, transfer. We'll have some football picks. We'll have pigskin picks. We got playoff games to pick. But we're going to start doing some more basketball picks as well. So all that is coming up in just 1 minute as we continue right here on Locked On Big Ten. Speaking of college football, it's that time of year. It is here. The college football playoff is back, and with a newly expanded 12-team format, it's guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever, bringing you all the hard-hitting and high-flying excitement that you love. TNT sports coverage of the college football playoff begins December 21st. when they will have the college football kickoff show presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. Eastern, leading into their first matchup. Southern Methodist University, the Mustangs, taking on the Penn State Nittany Lions. That'll be at noon Eastern. Then the Clemson Tigers look to upset the Texas Longhorns on a showdown at 4 p.m. Eastern, so don't miss a moment of the action. Watch the college football playoff presented by Allstate live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and Max. It's all the college football playoffs. All right, I want to go ahead and move forward here into our top 10 Big Ten observations from the weekend. Got a lot of them here. If you're audio only, we'll describe it in detail for you if you're not watching on video on YouTube. You know, the first one I threw on here, I know it's not Big Ten, but the only game we had was the Army-Navy game, and I love the uniforms. I always like this. They always change them up every year. Got the crossbone and skulls on the Navy. You got Army looking like you got dusting of snow on the helmets and the shoulder pads. I thought it was worth a mention just to be patriotic, right? Army-Navy. Who can go against that? And all right, now back to the Big Ten. I need to mention the Heisman Trophy race this weekend. All 4 finalists gathering Saturday night. Dillon Gabriel, fine season, came in 3rd. Travis Hunter wins it, but it's worth a mention since we're locked on Big Ten, and we had a Big Ten player in there that we're all very proud of and enjoy watching him play. And number 8, I want to put in here UCLA basketball. You know, they were down 13 and they still found a way to beat Arizona on Saturday. And it's their 8th straight win. So watch out for UCLA hoops. Again, a lot more basketball coming up here. Wisconsin's Nolan Winter had a season high 20 points as Wisconsin beat Butler over the weekend. Wanted to give him a shout out, as I do with Purdue's Braden Smith. Now, they got beat pretty soundly by Texas A&M, but it wasn't Braden Smith's fault. 15 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds in that loss. Other than him, Purdue really didn't get anything going. They missed Zach Edey. Illinois basketball. They went toe-to-toe with the number 1 team in the country. I know it was a loss. Don't really want to promote a loss, but they lost on a last-second bucket to number 1 Tennessee, 66-64. So Illinois looks like it's got itself a basketball team again this year. Women's basketball. Iowa. I know Caitlin Clark's gone, but they're still good. And they're ranked 21st in the nation, and they went in to 17th ranked Michigan State and took on the Spartans women's basketball team. This was a back and forth slugfest on Sunday. Michigan State won the game 68-66. The entire game is worth a mention here on our top 10 observations from the weekend. Also, want to mention Nebraska's Bryce Williams. This was from Friday night. Nebraska destroyed Indiana again. They got Indiana's number. Bryce Williams, 30 points in that game. That's definitely a mention, worth a mention here in our top 10. I want to talk about Penn State's Ace Baldwin Jr. Set a single game record with 16 assists in a win over Coppin State. Penn State got 99 points in that game, and he had 16 assists. And then the number 1 observation over the weekend, Rutgers, Dylan Harper. Get used to this. The Harper family, they keep sending generation after generation to Rutgers, and they keep playing. They do things like this. Hit a deep 3-pointer at the buzzer to beat Seton Hall. That's our number 1 observation from the weekend. So a lot of basketball on here. Did I leave something off? Let me know. Hit me up. Many ways to reach out on this podcast at Twitter or X at Talk Big Ten. Comments on YouTube are always welcome as well. And don't forget our website, talkbig10.com, where all of our podcasts go. And we've got links if you want to do some last week Christmas shopping and get some swag from your favorite university, shirts, hats, T-shirts. It's all right there. Got the links for you side by side. They'll take care of you. In the meantime, hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet. We're growing leaps and bounds on this podcast thanks to you guys. But if you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button. It's always free. And follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app, and you get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. We got Tuesday tweets, transfer portal news, recruiting news. We're going to keep previewing these games coming up to the weekend with the college football playoffs involving the 4 Big Ten teams, 3 of them in action this weekend. So it's going to be an exciting week right here, and we want you with us here for every single minute. Speaking of spending a few minutes with us today, thank you very much for that. Can't wait till we talk again tomorrow. I'm Craig Shemon for Locked On Big Ten.